Tafsir of Surah Fatihah, Part 3 of 6. 2. The God in form. Allah has a shape. We know from the Quran that Allah has eyes, ears, face, hands, legs, etc. The Holy Bible talks about His shape. And Elohim created the man in His own image. In the image of Elohim, He created him. He created them male and female. Genesis chapter 1 verse 27. Holy Bible. So Allah in form looks like a human. Similar description is there in the Hadith as well. Allah, the exalted and glorious, created Adam in His own image with his length of 60 cubits. Muslim. Allah in form stays in a domain of the Arsh. The domain is bigger than this universe. He normally moves beyond His domain by extending His kursi, thorn. Extends His kursi into the skies and lands, samawat wal ard, this universe. And He feels no fatigue in guarding both of them, samawat and jannat. For He is the Most High, the Supreme. Al-Quran 2-255. His omnipresence is discussed in the next, where it will be amply clear why there is none like unto Him. Say, He is God, the one and only, God, the eternal, absolute. He begetteth not, nor is He begotten, and there is none like unto Him. Al-Quran 112, 1-4. 3. The God existing everywhere. Allah has a form. At the same time, He is present everywhere. See you not that God does know that is in the skies and on lands? There is not a secret consultation between three, but He makes the fourth among them, nor between five, but He makes the sixth, nor between fewer nor more, but He is with them wheresoever they be. In the end, will He tell them the truth of their conduct on the day of judgment. For God has full knowledge of all things. Al-Quran 58-7. Allah knows what we are thinking. He is closer to us than our jugular veins. It was we who created man, and we know what dark suggestions his soul makes to him, for we are nearer to him than his jugular vein. Al-Quran 50-16. In light of the above verses, Allah exists everywhere. 4. Basic idea about the soul. If Allah exists everywhere, He should be formless. But He is not formless. We need to know the soul to understand how Allah, having a form, can exist everywhere. We view a soul as a spiritual stuff and remain hopeless to understand it. Actually, we know some of the souls and use those in many our instruments. But we do not identify those as souls. The following discussion will identify the soul and will develop an idea as to how a soul works. Soul in general. Types of souls. Light and subatomic particles. Atom and universe. Nafsin wahidatan. A nafs single. The nafsin wahidatan and the GUT force. Unknown force fields. 4.1 Soul in general. We believe that a soul defines one's shape and nature and sustains the body as a living entity. This applies to living beings, but directly understanding the soul of a living creature can be challenging. Here, we present a basic concept of the soul. First, we discuss the soul of matter. According to the Hadith, matter also has a soul. Various force fields sustain the natural systems of the inner world, acting like souls. One example is the magnetic field. By examining the magnetic field, we can explore the idea that a force field and a soul might be the same. Figure 1.5. Magnetic field. A soul, ruh, is expressed in the Quran as the command of God. They ask thee concerning the ruh, elementary soul. Say, the ruh is command of my Lord. Of knowledge, it is only a little that is communicated to you. Al-Quran 17-85. I have discussed two cases in the following where the magnetic field works like commands. Case 1. The Earth has a huge magnetic field that resists the solar wind from entering the Earth. It seems that the magnetic field is commanding the solar wind. Do not enter. Figure 1.6. Earth's magnetic field. The land-living creatures could not survive without this magnificent magnetic field. What is its origin? Why the Earth should have such a huge magnetic field? The scientists say that the rotating, convecting, and electrically conducting fluid, like melted iron core of the Earth, can develop magnetic field. And in case of a gaseous object, like the Sun, they say that the ionized gas too can develop magnetic field. They are to say something, as they are scientists. Actually, these are force fields invested by God as commands. Case 2. The magnetism is caused by electromagnetic force, which is one of the fundamental forces of the nature. Figure 1.7. Magnetic field sustaining and directing the electrons. A moving electric charge generates a magnetic field, as depicted in figure 1.7 below. It seems that the magnetic field is sustaining and directing the electrons as a commanding force. The field is sole governing agency of the particle. Albert Einstein. In other words, the field is sole commander of the particle. The force fields are designed and invested by God as His commands. They ask thee concerning the Ruh, elementary soul. Say, the Ruh is command of my Lord. Of knowledge, it is only a little that is communicated to you. Al-Quran 17-85. Therefore, a force field and a soul, Ruh, may be the same thing. 4.1.3. Soul in the Hadith. The Hadith expresses a soul as an attractive or repulsive force. Prophet said, the souls are like conscripted soldiers. Those whom they recognize, they get along with. And those whom they do not recognize, they will not get along with. Bukhari, Muslim. Characteristics are seen in the force fields. The protons are repulsive to each other. The strong nuclear force field holds the protons in the nucleus of an atom. Thus, in the language of the Hadith, the strong nuclear force field recognizes the protons and holds those in the nucleus. It does not recognize the electrons, so it does not pull those inside. Figure 1.8. Atom. Similarly, the magnetic field recognizes the electron, so it keeps the electrons in the orbits of the atom. It does not recognize the proton, so it does not disturb those. Therefore, a force field possesses the characteristics of a soul. It seems that the thing that the scientists call force field is called soul in the books of religion. 4.2. Types of souls. At this stage, I will assume that a force field and a soul is the same thing. The assumption will be confirmed in subsequent discussion. The Quran talks about two types of souls: Ruh, elementary soul; Nafs, composite soul. 4.2.1. Ruh, elementary soul. Ruh is an Arabic word. It is translated as soul, but it should be translated as elementary soul. An elementary soul is called Ra. I write it as Ruhs in plural form. Allah can design a force field and can make it fixed. Once an object like the Earth, or a particle like an electron, falls into the designed force field, it acts as intended. A designed force field is a Ra. It is an elementary soul. For example, the strong nuclear force field and the magnetic field are different kinds of elementary souls / Ras. Therefore, we may define a Ruh, an elementary soul, as a force field, designed to act in fixed patterns, which holds or influences intended entities and commands them to act in specific ways. Note, there are different kinds of Ras, elementary souls, serving different purposes. For example, the Quran calls its verses Ras because the words came as brain data, low-intensity electromagnetic force fields, emitted from the protected disk, Law Mahfuz. The angels injected the data into the brain of Prophet Muhammad, PBUH, through Mor'it Nobuat, a swollen muscle below the neck, and backbone. It produced the memories of the verses in the Prophet's brain. For another example, Allah breathed Ruh into Adam when he became conscious. It is a special Ruh given to a human just after his/her birth, when she becomes conscious and cries for the first time. This Ruh works as a part of a human soul, Nafs. It offers a flux encompassing a muscle of the chest, central nervous system, CNS, and the brain to produce the qalb, mind. The qalb can be called virtual brain of a human. The qalb is deliberately discussed in section 10 of chapter 6. 4.2. 2. Nafs, composite soul. Another kind of soul is called nafs. Nafs is an Arabic word. I write it as nafses in plural form. Both ruh and nafs are translated as soul, but there are differences between a ruh and a nafs. A ruh is an elementary soul, a force field, but a nafs is a composite soul. A combination of two or more force fields, elementary souls, ruhs, makes a nafs, composite soul. For example, strong nuclear force field, magnetic force field, and weak nuclear force field jointly make the nafs of an atom. The nafs holds the particles, such as electrons, protons, neutrons, etc., and forms the atom. Many natural systems and all living creatures have nafses as their main souls. Therefore, we may define a nafs as a combination of two or more force fields, which sustains a system and determines its form, nature, and activities. Scientists have so far discovered 4 kinds of force fields, such as strong nuclear force field, electromagnetic force field, weak nuclear force, and gravitational force. There should be more kinds of force fields in the nature with different characteristics, which are not yet discovered. 2023. An animal's nafs is a combination of such undiscovered and unknown force fields. We find the indications of the unknown force fields from consciousness and emotions, such as fear, anger, disgust, etc., of an animal. The consciousness and the emotions are inherent qualities of the force fields. The more number of force fields a nafs, a composite soul, has, the more number of emotions it has. There is no sign among the scientists that they are thinking on the force fields that may be working in an animal. Trying for their detection is a far cry. They like to make bizarre theories to explain the complex natural systems. The human nafs is deliberately discussed in section 10 of chapter 6. 4.3 Light and subatomic particles. The light is electromagnetic force field. There are 2 kinds of force fields in the light, such as electric field and magnetic field. So the light should be a nafs, but the light is called ruh as well. The verses of the Quran came as brain data, low-intensity electromagnetic force, light, which are called ruhs in the Quran. So the main difference between a ruh and a nafs is that a ruh works as a command, and a nafs sustains/support the system. A subatomic particle shows wave-particle duality. It flips back and forth as particle and wave. It is conscious as well. Its duality and consciousness can be detected by the following test. Figure 1.9, double-slit experiment. A laser beam illuminates a plate pierced by 2 parallel slits, and the light passing through the slits is observed on a screen behind the plate. The wave nature of light causes the light waves passing through the 2 slits to interfere, producing bright and dark bands on the screen, a result that would not be expected if light consisted of classical particles. However, the light is always found to be absorbed at the screen at discrete points, as individual particles, not waves, the interference pattern appearing via the varying density of these particle hits on the screen. Furthermore, versions of the experiment that include detectors at the slits find that each detected photon passes through one slit, as would a classical particle, and not through both slits, as would a wave. However, such experiments demonstrate that particles do not form the interference pattern if one detects which slit they pass through. These results demonstrate the principle of wave-particle duality. Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. The experiment shows that a free subatomic particle, moving as wave, becomes a particle when it is observed. So it can sense that it is being observed. Therefore, a nafs is conscious, and it has 2 or more emotions. 4.4 Atom and Universe. The atoms are the basic building blocks of the universe. Once the atoms were created, the universe was created. An atom is created from different kinds of Rs, force fields, and nafses, subatomic particles. So the universe is created from different kinds of souls. 4.5. GUT, Grand Unified Theory Force. The scientists have so far discovered 4 kinds of forces, such as electromagnetic force field, weak nuclear force field, strong nuclear force field, and gravitational force. They think that the forces originated from a superforce. Physicists had believed that there were 4 fundamental forces of nature: the gravitational force, the strong and weak nuclear forces, and the electromagnetic force. Salam had worked on the unification of these forces from 1959 with Glashow and Weinberg. While at Imperial College London, Salam successfully showed that weak nuclear forces are not really different from electromagnetic forces, and 2 could interconvert. Salam provided a theory that shows the unification of 2 fundamental forces of nature, weak nuclear forces and the electromagnetic forces, one into another. Wikipedia, the free encyclopedia. Figure 1.10. GUT force. The scientists think that above 1035 degree K, the forces cannot remain separate. They unify into one force. As the universe expanded and cooled, the forces separated from one another. They think that the gravitational force separated when the temperature was above 1035 degree K. When the temperature dropped to 1027 degree K, the strong nuclear force field separated. The scientists find out that when the temperature dropped to 1015 degree K, the weak nuclear force field separated from the electromagnetic force field, light. The scientists consider 3 of above force fields, except gravitational force, as the forces of the Grand Unified Theory, GUT, which produced the Big Bang, this universe. 4.6. Nafsin Wahadatin, a naf single, and the GUT force. Nothing can be created from nothing, and there was nothing except eternal Allah. Allah has a nafs, composite soul. It permeates his body and form. He breathed out a part of his nafs and transformed it into creation. The nafs he breathed out for the creation is called nafsin wahidatin, a nafs single, in the following verses. It is he who has produced you from a nafs single, nafsin wahidatin. Here is a place of dwelling and storage. We detail our signs for people who understand. Al-Quran 6-98. He created you from a nafs single, nafsin wahidatin. Then created favorable pairs, DNA double helix, and he sent down for you of the cattle 8 pairs. He creates you in the wombs of your mothers, creation after creation. 3 tortures on Allah. That Allah is your Lord, for him is the dominion. There is no God but he. Then how are you turned away? Al-Quran 39-6. The science says that the universe was created from the GUT force, and the religion says that the universe was created from the nafsin wahadatin, a soul single. Then why should we not consider the force field and the soul as the same thing? It is different in name only. We do not view the force fields soul-like, because our knowledge is limited, and we do not know all of them and all about their qualities, such as conscious, emotions, information they carry, acts they can perform, and so forth. 4.6.1. First part of Nafsin Wahidatin. From the Nafsin Wahidatin, Allah extracted the force fields that were needed to create the nafses of living creatures. The scientists have so far, 2023, discovered 4 kinds of force fields, such as electromagnetic force field, weak nuclear force field, strong nuclear force field, and gravitational force, from which the atoms are created and the objects are sustained. There should be other kinds of force fields in the nature, with different characteristics. The force fields are not yet discovered. 2023. The consciousness and the emotions come from these force fields. The nafs of a living creature is a combination of such force fields. The force fields too were given with the nafsin wahidatin. Therefore, the nafsin wahadatin may be called gut force plus. 4.6.2. Second part of nafsin wahidatin. From the second part of nafsin wahidatin, he created the arsh and a huge quantity of water. The water was filling a large part of the superspace beneath the ash. Later, he created the Jannat, another universe, from the bulk of the water. 4.6.3. Third part of nafsin wahidatin. From the third part of nafsin wahidatin, he created this universe, samawat, the Kursi, and several other entities. The Holy Bible talks about this part of the nafsin wahidatin in the following verses. In the beginning, when God created the universe, the earth was non-existent. The raging ocean that covered everything was engulfed in total darkness, and the soul of God was hovering over the water. Genesis chapter 1, 1-2. Holy Bible, GNB. In above verse, the soul is called the soul of God because it belonged to God. He breathed it out from his body. In a Catholic Bible, the soul is translated as the breath of God. God, at the beginning of time, created heaven, sky, and earth, land. Earth was still an empty waste, and darkness hung over the deep, but already over its waters stirred the breath of God. Genesis chapter 1, 1-2. Holy Bible, Knox. So the breath of God was a part of nafsin wahidatin, from which the universe, the Kursi, and several other entities were created. When God commanded, "Let there be light," the light appeared in this part. Then God said, "Let there be light," and the light began. Genesis chapter 1 verse 3. Holy Bible, Knox. It means that the soul, the part of nafsin wahidatin, disintegrated on the command of "Let there be light." The fragments were strong nuclear force field, weak nuclear force field, and electromagnetic force field, light. Subsequently, the universe was created from the force fields at a speed looking like the Big Bang. Therefore, the gut force that created the universe was the soul, nafs, that was hovering over the water. The soul was a part of nafsin wahidatin. 46.4. To conclude the nafsin wahidatin, thus, the arsh and the water was created before the Big Bang. This universe, samawat. He it is who created the skies and the lands, this universe, in 6 days, and his arsh was over the waters. Al-Quran 11-7. A small part of the water was given to this universe, samawat. I have discussed the water deliberately in section 3 of chapter 41. Scientists do not include the gravitational force as a force of the gut forces. In view of the Quran as well, the gravitational force is not from nafsin wahidatin. It is a force of Allah, discussed subsequently.